Incoming hostiles.
Welcome to Ware Gaming Weekly. Hello and welcome to Ware Gaming Weekly for the week of July 10th, 2019. My name is Nick, and 3 hours ahead of me and about 3,000 miles across the country is my brother Josh. Say hi, Josh.
Hi, Josh.
How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. Been a very busy week, a lot of work. I'm very tired. But the earth isn't shaking over here, so I'm doing all right.
Nope. I think with our last episode, there wasn't an earthquake yet.
I think there was, yeah. Wasn't there?
Was there?
I think so. Did you?
Oh, yeah.
Did you see that there's a new crack in the earth?
There's been aftershocks, so.
Out there? Like, there's a new crack in the earth in California along the fault line that could be seen from space.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Because of that earthquake?
Yep. I saw that this week.
Oh, I did not see that.
You can apparently people were visiting this new crack in the earth. I'm like, I wouldn't go there.
Oh, wow.
It's probably not done.
No. It is not. It is not done. Well, that is interesting. Yeah, we've had some earthquakes. Actually, there was one today while we were preparing for the show. It was just kind of a rolling hills thing, just a little rolling, and yeah, I've been good. I worked on a commercial yesterday, which was really cool. We did it was like an 80s themed, like advertisement for a video game convention of some kind I've never heard of, and yeah, mainly just doing that and working on some editing projects. So
cool.
Yeah, things have been good.
As you all may or may not have noticed, there is no video again this week. We're still trying to get that worked out.
Nope.
Nick's not really found a good landing zone yet, as well as just timing on it.
Timing and everything else. So, so bear with us if you miss our faces, and if you don't care about our faces, then this should be no problem to you.
Like currently, last week we did this across Skype, and it seemed to work all right. But I was having problems getting the video integrated onto the recording software, and so this week we're trying Discord, and it's working pretty good, except for the fact that we stutter here and there and like freeze out, and so
yeah, we just kind of have to wait and see.
Probably once Nick gets to a point where he can set his computer down and get hardwired or something, we can figure that out. But
yeah.
So for now, we're just going to do audio.
And so for your information, Ware Gaming Weekly posts every week on YouTube.com and on podcast services. Yes, even though we don't have a video, it'll still put it up on YouTube. And then, of course, you can find more about us at waregaming.com. And in the coming weeks, we'll be streaming games live on twitch.tv/waregaming_. And I, just going back to what Josh just said, as soon as I can start setting up, more regular spaces. But I also realized I don't have a camera.
Well, you have your
laptop
That's true. Camera.
So.
And the camera we use here wasn't that expensive to pick up, so eventually we can
figure it out.
Put that in the budget.
Yeah.
But
You can write into us at weekly@waregaming.com to be heard on the show, and you can tweet to us at @waregaming_. But for now, let's get into the who, what, and the where.
Well, the benefits of not being on camera is no one got to see me spill my coffee.
Oh,
just
I
now,
did.
So.
I watched the whole thing. Your table is cluttered.
It's very cluttered, and yeah. Anyway, so Nintendo Switch Lite specs.
Oh, you're taking over.
Features,
Okay.
Release date announced by Adam. Not announced by Adam Bankhurst at IGN. It was not announced by him. It's the article.
You know, if I had read that, that'd have been no problem. But because you decided to take over.
Yeah, Nintendo announced the Nintendo Switch Lite, which releases September 20th, 2019 in 3 different colors. At a glance, the Nintendo Switch Lite features a smaller 5.5-inch touchscreen, a lighter all-in-one design, so no detachable Joy-Cons, a D-pad style control pad. I like that. I actually haven't seen it. I saw the news. I just haven't seen the image yet. Improved 3 to 7 hour battery life. No IR or HD rumble functions. No ability to dock TV or play in tabletop mode. And it will be available in yellow, gray, and turquoise for $199.99. Quote, adding Nintendo Switch Lite to the lineup gives gamers more color and price point options, said Nintendo of America President Doug Bowser. Now consumers can, quote, now consumers can choose the system that best suits how they like to play their favorite Nintendo Switch games. As discussion about the new console continues, initial reactions on the Nintendo Switch Lite seem split, with some potential owners happy about the redesign changes while others hopeful for a more advanced Nintendo Switch Pro redesign to follow. The Nintendo Switch Lite is smaller than the original Nintendo Switch, has no kickstand, and does not support does not support output to TV, so no dock or HDMI cable. Nintendo Switch Lite, and they say it so many times in this article, the device is designed specifically for handheld play and features built-in controllers with an actual connected D-pad, as opposed to the separated ones featured on the Nintendo Switch's Joy-Con.
Go ahead and skip down to...
Nintendo outlined an example that the battery will last approximately 3 hours while playing The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild on the regular Switch, whereas playing the same game on the Nintendo Switch Lite will last 4 hours, giving players an extra hour of gameplay before having to charge. Nintendo says Nintendo Switch Lite will also support all games in the robust Nintendo Switch library that support handheld mode, although some games will have restrictions. For games without handheld mode support, players will be able to wirelessly connect to compatible controllers, including separate Joy-Con controllers. This will be the only way to have Rumble enabled, as Nintendo Switch Lite does not feature any Rumble in its connected controllers. There must have been some kind of requirement. Like, I've got to say Nintendo Switch and Switch Lite like 25 times. So what did you think? Have you been able to see the device?
I'm going to go ahead and read the next one.
Okay.
And then I'll do it all together.
Sure.
Pokemon Sword and Shield Special Edition coming to blah blah blah. Pokemon Sword and Shield Special Edition Nintendo Switch Lite revealed. This comes from Seth Macy at IGN as well. Nintendo Switch Lite is only something we've known about for a few minutes, but it's already getting a special edition for the release of Pokemon Sword and Shield. The Switch Lite Zacian and Zamazenta editions, so those are the Pokemon names, costs $199.99 and comes out November 8th, 2019. That's just a few days ahead of the Pokemon Sword and Shield release date, November 15th. With the $199.99 price tag and release date slightly ahead of the games, it's pretty safe bet this will be the console only and won't have a game included. The new Nintendo Switch Lite and its non-special form arrive on September 20th. Pre-order details are coming soon, according to Nintendo. It also said the console will be available while supplies last, which means it's a limited edition. Right now, Nintendo Switch Lite pre-order placeholder pages are live at Best Buy, but not only for the special edition, but the 3 different versions as well. I have a Switch, and I feel like I think it's smart that they're doing this, because though I think it's also kind of countering what they initially were trying to say about the thing, which is they were trying so hard not to say that it's a handheld, but I think when they realize that the way most people play it is in handheld mode, then they're like, fine, it's a really good handheld. I think it's a little disappointing that it doesn't have a docking feature, though I think that's probably why it costs less. I mean, that's one of the reasons. Just because, like, if, let's say you bought one and you came over and wanted to show me your Pokemon on the big screen or something, and whatever. I guess it's inconsequential enough, but then I feel like it's not really a Switch anymore. Like, it doesn't have that functionality.
Right, it's just
but I think it's cool. I like the modularness of the Switch. I like being able to remove the Joy-Cons, even though I don't necessarily need to. I like that aspect. I like, plugging it into the TV, pulling it out, doing all that stuff. So, but I think it's a smart move. I am interested to see if they do a XL version. The one thing there's a few things about this that I have no real interest in buying. I don't need it because I already have one. The battery life is obviously not substantial enough for me to get another one, and the bezel is not any bigger. The
device is smaller than the initial Switch.
So there's not a whole lot of need for me to get one other than no, there's not one.
Yeah.
Except for the D-pad. And then I saw an article today, I didn't include it because it wasn't lengthy and it wasn't like substantial enough, but saying that they may not come out with Joy-Cons with the new D-pad on it. Which it comes with a tradition, like a real D-pad.
Yeah.
And
so
not
so to give my 2 cents real quick, I just looked up the pictures of it because I haven't seen it yet. I think the D-pad looks awesome because that's my biggest complaint about the Switch is the buttons are tiny. But having a real D-pad is a big plus. I am the perfect audience for this device. I don't care about the Joy-Cons at all. I'd rather use a Pro Controller or use it in handheld mode. I don't like the flimsiness of the Joy-Cons. I don't like the little tiny buttons. So the fact that they don't detach, not a big deal. The fact that you can't connect it to the TV is a big deal. Like, that's a no-go for me. Because I would like to... when I could pay $300 and get a real Switch, or $200 and get a little Switch that doesn't connect to the TV, so not a Switch, just a witch. I think that breaks it for me.
And also like like for you or just for anyone, it's like we use our Nintendo games, consoles a lot for party mode things. Like if you went over David and Ashley's and got and played Smash Brothers or Pokemon or whatever, and in the trailer they show people being able to play with each other using their Nintendo Switch Lite, but everyone had one, and some people with the OG Switch could use the Joy-Cons and play two to one Switch, and everyone still had their own Switch and played together. But it's like this is your Vita now, rather than a Switch.
So I think for kids this is a perfect outlet. No brainer is coming out with Pokemon because everybody's got a Switch now, but now the brother or sister wants to also have a Switch because there's going to be 2 versions of Pokemon coming out, and so each of them are going to get a version of Pokemon, and so this makes total sense. I just think it's a bummer that it just doesn't connect to the TV. But the little kids probably aren't going to care because they're going to be at school playing or whatever.
Bus or
So I think this is good for them. The price for them might be a little steep. For parents to buy a second Nintendo Switch for $100 less, and it's got less features.
Well, if they don't have I mean, if this is the Nintendo Switch for them, then that'd be perfect. If they've been
Right.
wanting to get one for their kid, I think this is going to sell great in this holiday season.
Yeah, I can see it doing well, but I don't think the older generations will be as into it unless you don't care about playing on the TV. I mean, if you don't care about playing on the TV, I think the smaller screen is going to be a bummer. But the longer battery life, if you're someone who travels a lot, then you might accept that smaller screen
Yeah.
for a longer battery life and not having to carry around an extra battery pack because you get an extra hour of gameplay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like if I was in a commuter city, I guess I am in a commuter city. If I was in a public transit city, that was better than LA. Like if I was back in Chicago, then I would have utilized my Switch much more on travels. But as it stands, I can't play the Switch while I'm driving yet. But
So you get the Tesla autopilot, right?
yeah. Yeah. Or if I could use my Switch to drive the car, but I'd still be driving, so why would I do that? Anyway. So like right now I only use my Switch at home, and then if I decide to play, I will just dock it and play that way. Unless I'm going over to a friend's house. But even then, like I went over to my friend Rick's house and brought the dock and everything anyway, because if we were gonna play, we were gonna play right.
Right.
So, but yeah, I think.
I mean, we're not necessarily the perfect demographic for every situation here. I think the smaller Switch would have been perfect for me had it have all the functionality. You just couldn't take off the Joy-Cons, and maybe it didn't come with a dock. Maybe it just came with an HDMI cord that you plugged into the TV. But
yeah, I wonder if they'll come out with any sort of like adapters.
And
I don't know if you can do that.
It's a crime if they don't come out with a Joy-Con that has a D-pad, a real D-pad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a crime. They've already got the mold. Just make it. Or 8-bit dough.
All right. Do you want to take over this next one?
Sure. Dr. Mario World is now available on iOS and Android by Matt Perslow at IGN. Nintendo has announced that the mobile game Dr. Mario World has a release date of July 10th. And in Dr. Mario World, in Dr. Mario World, players have to eliminate viruses by matching capsules with viruses of the same color. Alongside Mario, players will also be able to call on Dr. Peach, Dr. Bowser, and Dr. Toad, and a variety of other characters in order to draw on a variety of antiviral skills. Accompanying the main stage mode is Versus Mode, where players can go head-to-head online. Dr. Mario World is described as free to start, and the initial launch contains over 200 stages, with additional stages, worlds, and doctors due to be added later. Nintendo seems to be very interested in experimenting with the mobile space, but we don't need to go through all that, but none of that article says it's now available, but it actually came out.
It says
came out a day early. It came out on the 9th. So
yeah, that was the news part of it, is that it came out a day early, but it releases today. Like it was supposed to release today.
It was set to release July 10th. Actually came out a day early. It was a surprise day early, and so
for what reason? Like, let's just go ahead and
ready.
send it out. We don't care.
It was ready.
Yeah, but I mean, if it was ready yesterday, it wouldn't have been ready the day before.
I don't know.
I
don't make those decisions. Nintendo did, and I've played it. So.
Oh yeah, how is it?
Do we want to go ahead and go over that now? So I've only played the introductory levels. The first like 20 levels are like the intro. You have to do 10 levels to unlock a certain, like, more characters, and then you have to do 10 more levels to unlock, like, friends and the versus mode and things like that. So the first 20 levels you get 10 levels you get Dr. Mario, It's not quite like the Dr. Mario you remember, or I remember.
Like the switching and
Well, I mean,
stuff like
it used
that.
to be more just like a Tetris clone with the capsules falling down, and you had to flip them as they fell to hit the virus, and then as they popped, the next part of the capsule would keep falling. In this one, it actually goes vertically, and you get a little, you get a capsule at the bottom. You tap it to spin, and then when you're ready to place it, you can, you have to click and drag it up to match it to the virus, and so you can just drag it onto the little screen, and if you let go, it'll slowly crawl up to wherever you lined it up with, and then, or you can just place it wherever you like, wherever you can legally place it. So you could just drag it up to where you want it. It just depends on how fast you want the game to go. It's very slow to start off with. Like if you just drag it, it just crawls up the screen. So slow. None of them have been particularly hard. But like I said, I've only completed the introductory levels, so we'll have more to report later.
Cool.
I mean, it's nice. The art, the art style is very Mario. It's kind of almost Mario Party-esque, where you have the little, like the board, or well, really any kind of like Mario game where you have like different worlds you travel along, and then once you complete a section, you open up a new section.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like any of the like saga, like the Candy Crush sagas or stuff like that.
It does have a lot of not a lot. So far, it's got a handful of microtransactions, but I haven't really found a need for it. But the first 20 levels, you don't have lives; it's infinite. So after the 20th level, you get like 5 lives, and then every time you do a retry, you lose a life.
Okay. Well, we'll be interested to see if you end up like if you stick around with it or if you drop it off.
Yep, I'll report it as we go on.
Cool. Going back to Nintendo, well, continuing with
it's really
the Nintendo
week
theme.
Because there's not been a lot of news, so.
Yeah. Nintendo says it will continue to support 3DS despite Switch Lite by Eric Van Allen at US Gamer. I was about to say Eric Van Halen, and that was not accurate. There may be a new sibling in the family, but Nintendo seems dead set not moving on from the 3DS. The handheld console will still be getting support from Nintendo, despite the now 2 handheld-capable consoles also being produced by the company. Speaking to The Verge, Nintendo of America President Doug Bowser says it isn't ending support for the 3D-focused handheld in light of the new Switch revision, the Nintendo Switch Lite, which was announced today. We'll continue to support our 3DS family of systems as long as there is a demand, Bowser said. Considering that the Nintendo sales still lag behind the DS and 3DS in regions like Japan, it stands to reason that the 3DS still reaches a lot of folks. The company has reiterated a few times now that it remains committed to the platform and feels it can survive alongside the Switch, with Nintendo CEO Tatsumi Kimishima noting the difference between the two in a 2018 quarterly review. The Nintendo 3DS characteristics, price points, and play styles differ from Nintendo Switch, said Kimisha. And we intend to continue the 3DS business separately and in parallel. So it doesn't look like they're going to get rid of those anytime soon. And they are still releasing 3DS specific games like the Persona Q2 game.
I mean, it might be frustrating for some, and it sounds like it might sound like they're clinging on, but I mean, 3DS sold like crazy, so it makes total sense that until people stop buying games for it, why not keep releasing games for it? So, I mean, that's like, we were talking. I mean, Ubisoft is still making Wii games. They're releasing Just Dance 2020 on the Wii. So,
and there has to be a reason for that.
So as long as there's demand, and you're going to make a decent margin on it, then.
So I'm trying to visualize the people who will continually buy Just Dance on the Wii. So this is what all this says to me. 1, people still have a Wii who still have a Wii. either just really love it or really love their category of games, or aren't regular gamers and they have a Wii to hold on, let me finish. A Wii to, you know, play around with, and they play Just Dance. But then my follow up to that is, if they have a Wii so they can play Just Dance, but they're not regular gamers, why do they continue? Why is not the original Just Dance good enough? And why do they have to keep buying 18, 19, 20? Unless it's just because they want more songs to dance to. Which, at that point, just create like DLC packs for them. That's my whole rabbit hole.
I've actually heard that the Wiis are very popular in children's hospitals. And that the Just Dance is very popular in those settings. And they still have Nintendo Wiis. And so instead of upgrading, they use the Just Dance, and they buy new song packs every year. So,
well, that's awesome. It's awesome.
So,
and obviously,
the more you know.
I don't know shit. So,
well, I mean, it was a good question, but I actually heard that a couple weeks ago when you know, it was initially or when Just Dance 2020 was announced. One of the podcasts I listened to actually brought that up and said that they're popular among children's hospitals and like retirement homes and stuff like that.
Sure. Obviously, I don't know video game demographics very well.
All right. Say what?
It doesn't matter. Let's continue. Okay. Facebook.
So Facebook reportedly after Ubisoft IP other AAA franchises for Oculus exclusives by Rebecca Valentine at GamesIndustry.biz. Although VR is still growing slowly, one criticism is that it lacks exclusive entries from popular AAA franchises to draw crowds. That may change soon if Facebook gets its way. The information reports. The information is that proper? The information reports that.
Yeah, I think that's like a news site.
Reports that Facebook is currently after both game studio acquisitions for Oculus development as well as IP rights to make VR games in popular franchises. Two IPs that sources say are already signed for are Assassin's Creed and Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell.
Interesting.
Both from Ubisoft. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg was reportedly involved with the deal, though VP of Special Gaming Initiatives Jason Rubin is in charge of the push for acquisitions and content as a whole. Rubin was promoted in December from his previous role as Oculus head of content. Quote, "We cannot comment on specific partnerships, but we will continue to focus on expanding our library and reaching broader gaming audiences for years to come," said a Facebook spokesperson. Facebook launched its new untethered Oculus Quest headset at the end of May this year, and in its first 2 weeks, it moved over $5 million in software sales. Pretty good for VR.
Yeah. You know, that it's interesting that there are not many like VR exclusives or like exclusive titles that stay on VR. And I wonder if part of the reason is that it's like you can't make money on being on this one right now.
I mean, it's a little. I think VR is a little bit different than just like your standard hardware, like release or console. It's more of a. It's almost more proof of concept and tech demos or tech. It's trial and error, really.
Yeah.
Because some things work, some things don't. Obviously, we're in the more commercial phase of it. They're selling the products and things like that, but it's harder to get bigger companies to sign on to it. So having someone like Facebook or even PlayStation be like, hey, we're going to help subsidize some development costs and get some exclusive content here. That way people start buying it, and then more third parties would be more willing to invest some money into it. Like
Yeah.
Splinter Cell. We can't even get a real Splinter Cell game. We get Sam Fisher in a mobile game and a DLC for Ghost Recon, but we can't get.
And now maybe
And now
VR
maybe
game.
a VR game, but not a real. I mean, not a traditional.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, I think the Oculus is supposed to be doing pretty well. I mean, for the higher end consoles. I left my VR headset with you.
Yeah.
So. But it'll be interesting to see if that goes into action.
Sure.
PlayStation 5's APU to offer better performance than NVIDIA's GTX 1080. This is a rumor. This is by Francesco De Mayo from WCCFtech.com. The PlayStation 5 console is yet to be officially unveiled, so there's little we know about its specs. Several developers praise its computing power, and it seems the console is indeed going to be quite powerful. Tomb_Apasak, who is well known in the PC community for leaking PC parts codes, and benchmarks, recently revealed that the first PlayStation 5 Fire Strike benchmark has seemingly surfaced. The benchmark scored a Gonzalo APU, which is rumored to be the PlayStation 5's SoC.
So let me interrupt real quick. This is all technical mumbo jumbo that normally we wouldn't talk about, but they specifically mention what it's comparing it to, and I wanted to give a price idea of what we're looking at just based on the APU architecture. So continue.
Okay. Well, then I will brush through this. According to the benchmark numbers, the PS5 is going to be 4 times more powerful than the base PS4 and will offer better performances than NVIDIA's GTX 1080 GPU, which is definitely impressive for a console. As things have yet to be finalized, the Gonzalo APU is still in development, so things may be different in the final console. Still, things are looking quite good for a PlayStation 5. Last month, several statements regarding the PlayStation 5's power started circulating online. The console is apparently going to be more powerful than Xbox Scarlet.
I think that's all we need to really go over. So, for context, the GTX 1080, which is a couple years old at this point, is still a really popular and powerful graphics card to use. And if you wanted to buy one new used on Amazon right now, it would still cost you $575. And that's just for the graphics card. So if you put that,
I'm sorry, you cut it. It cut out. How much?
Sorry. So you can buy it used on Amazon at GTX 1080 for $575.
Oh wow.
So if that gives you any kind of, and that's just the graphics card to put into a computer that's already got a motherboard and all this other stuff. So if you want to compare power to price, you're talking this APU is probably going to be up there in the price, but obviously they're going to make deals with the manufacturers and things like that to bring costs down. But just to give you guys an idea of pricing based on what they're comparing it to, and they're saying it's more powerful than a GTX 1080, which costs almost $600 used.
So you think this is going to cost a lot?
I'm just
for consumers.
Just putting it out there. I don't know, backroom deals and discounts and things like that they'll do, and they always take a hit, and if they're going to try to get this console out to as many people as they can and try to get it out avoiding these tariffs, they're not going to be able to charge out the wazoo. So they're probably going to have to take a decent sized chunk on a hit for this next console cycle. That's my guess, though.
Cool. Well, I'm very excited. Right now, I wanted to talk about the games we've been playing. And you said you played
I've been playing
Mario.
I've been playing the Dr. Mario on my phone, and it's fine. I want to see it get a little bit more challenging. But otherwise, we didn't mention the last thing I wanted to talk about. So last week we read an article where they told us that the PlayStation Plus games
Oh, right.
for July were Pro Evolution Soccer 2019 and
The Turbo, Horizon Chase Turbo.
Horizon Chase Turbo, and I made a big thing about this is a terrible month. Terrible month for PlayStation Plus. Probably one of the worst lineups they've put out. And the day after we recorded, they swapped it out. So they pulled Pro Evolution Soccer and put in Detroit Become Human, the Digital Deluxe Edition. Now, so that includes heavy rain in most territories. So.
Yeah.
And from what I hear, Detroit Become Human is a great game. Some people in the industry's favorite game of last year. So definitely something to check out. If you have PlayStation Plus, I would go put that in your library.
I started playing it.
I see.
And it was very intriguing, very interesting. But it's also a very emotionally engaging story to the point where it was like, I don't know where it's going, but like I'm getting the vibes from this scene and I have a feeling I know where it's going and I am not in the mood to deal with it and make really quick decisions. So I'm going to turn this off and play Spider-Man, which you do have to make quick decisions, but not nearly as consequential.
Yeah.
So I have been playing Spider-Man again, Spider-Man PS4, and I beat it when it came out and played all of that, got the platinum and everything. But when I bought the game, as you know, I purchased all the DLC packs, and then they started to come out, and I never felt it. I was like, nah, I'm good. But I don't know, seeing Spider-Man the other day, I saw that, Insomniac posted that they are releasing the 2 new skins from the movie. It's like, oh, let's see what they look like and all that stuff. And then I got in and I was like, you know what? I need to do these DLCs. And so today I actually completed all of the 3 DLC packs for the story, The City That Never Sleeps. And it's very interesting. I think that if I were to rate them, it would be the first one called The Heist, the last one called Silver Linings, and then the second one being Turf Wars. Reason being is that there are really cool action sequences in The Heist. The Heist is about Black Cat. And that's not a spoiler because that's like the marketing on it is like Black Cat is in this one. And some really interesting things happen. And the scenes that play out and their sequences and stuff that are really cool and really like are layered. There are layered things going on that are really interesting. But then the second one, Turf Wars, is very like all it is like beating people up. I know is the game, but it's like there's not a whole lot of substance. And there's one interesting thing that happens with there's 2 interesting that happens. So mainly that one is focusing on the villain Hammerhead. He's got like a metal plate in his skull and he can kill people just by headbutting them, and he's been like raging havoc on the city. And so you and Yuri from the base game, the cop, are trying to track him down. And then the third episode is kind of the conclusion of Hammerhead story, but Silver Sable comes back and finishes parts of her story. So trying to break this down in a non-spoiler, the game's been out for a year, so I could probably talk about it, but if you wanted to go through it, I just don't want to spoil it for you.
Don't spoil it for me. Sure.
Okay. the thing is, it's like I said, the heist's story was very interesting. The second game,
I was going to ask, does it take place after the main story?
Yes. Yeah, it's all after.
Because I remember, like, Horizon, they released their Horizon Zero Dawn, released their DLC, and it actually, like, was integrated into the story, but they released it, like, several months after the game, and so it made it weird to try to jump into, and, like, it takes place before the end of the game, but I'm playing it way after the end. I beat it, so...
Yeah, no, it's after the game, and the one thing I'll say about the three of them in general is that it feels it's neat because it feels like you're watching the animated show in a way, not in like not quality, just like you're just spending a little time with it. Here's a little story. The world's still moving on. It hasn't stopped because the game's over. The game's over. So there are things that are happening. What I'm curious about, due to events that happen in the game, like how that's going to reflect on the next one, because there's something that not necessarily happens, but there's like a pretty serious plot point that happens that has a lot of consequences for a relationship you have in the second one, like a character that in the second one. And so I'm curious how that will play out for people who haven't played it. And then in the last one, I found myself less interested by the story. It also almost felt like the more they released them, the less content they had, like the less story, like main story stuff to go through. It was like the first one had a lot, the second one had some, and the third one had like 2 or 3 things, and it was over of main content. But the third one has a lot of side stories that I thought were more interesting than the main story. And there's one where you have to go around and find these recordings that I'm like, why wasn't this the story? Because this would have been better than the story. So I do recommend playing them.
Are they all like interconnected, or are they more?
Yes. It's all they're not. It's like
one comic arc kind of deal.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now there are things that probably should be more connected than they are, and things that are really connected. What I mean that is like there's some things that you would expect to see in the second or the third one that you're like, what? And you don't, and you're like, well then what about? But, and then the only other thing I want to say about it is that the enemies are so annoying. And Screwball, who is like,
the
internet thing. She's like she gives you like Taskmaster style challenges, but they're way more annoying. She's way more annoying, and it's to the point where, like in the second one, and this since she's side content, so I'm not worried about spoiling that. Is like in the second one, you think that you're gonna find her and stop her, and then you don't. She's like, well, I guess you have to wait till season 3, and I'm like, no, I don't want to do this again. Any of this stuff or variants of this stuff. And so if I had to say anything, that was really annoying. And then the enemy types are particularly challenging only because, like, get good, Nick, but like I would get so swarmed by these enemies, and then I would respond to like the dodge. His head turns blue. You hit the circle. You dodge, and it would just be back to back to back to back to back, and I would die because like I just was not in rhythm. It did remind me of playing Arkham. Well, obviously, but because eventually, I stopped button mashing in Arkham and started dancing. It was more of a dance, and this one, I haven't quite felt the dance part of it yet. Well, now that I'm, it's been a year since I played it.
Yeah. Did you 100% the DLCs?
Yeah, 100% of the DLC. But I still have a 97% on the trophies because you get trophies for playing New Game Plus and playing New Game Plus on Ultimate. difficulty.
Oh man.
And I'm like, I'm not interested in right now, especially with how frustrating I was getting playing this DLC on easy, or I mean on normal. It was like, this is ridiculous. Like they have these jetpack guys, which this is
the Sable guys, right?
Yeah, the Sable guys, and I think but they get like souped up and it's worse. And but I think this happened when I played the game the first time too. Is that I sometimes forget about gadgets. And then I start thinking, it's usually, when you go down in one of those dungeons or where the hideouts or whatever, they still have some of those. And the hideouts are the best place for you to kind of, figure out how you want to, your play styles. But it's also the worst place if you suck like me. Because once they go, and they just don't stop, and they're all around you. And so finally, I started finding the rhythm with use the trip wires for the jetpack guys, do this with those guys. Ultimately, you still also just have to be good at the game. And so, but I do recommend it if you have been wanting to play more Spider-Man. Then get in it. I've unlocked a ton of suits.
Did you play with the Far From Home suits?
I played during the Black Hats ones at night. I played with, there's a stealth suit that you get. I played with that one from Far From Home, but the normal Spider-Man suit in Far From Home that is unique to Far From Home is not unique enough from the others. So I just went back to Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, which is uncanny sometimes because it really feels like Spider-Man 2 at that point. So but
it's funny how iconic that particular suit is. Because it really isn't very different than most of Spider-Man's, but it's got some kind of flash to it that it just.
I think it's the way. I think it's been probably nostalgia and just the way it glistens. Because it glistens in the game, I played most of Spider-Man using the Iron Spider suit, and then I decided to attribute the Iron Spider Iron Arms to my Sam Raimi Spider-Man, and it's weird a little. It's a little weird because this is. And I also wonder if it's the context of how I understand that particular Spider-Man. He doesn't have gadgets. He doesn't have anything. He just has him. And the Tom Holland ones, he's got gadgets, and so it makes sense for the Iron Spider suit to come out. But then when you see him coming out of this, it's like, what is this? So, but yeah. There's that. Like I said, I played a little bit of Detroit and Horizon Chase Turbo. I played. I thought that it was fun for what it was. It's a racing game, arcade. It's one of the more arcadey games I've ever played. Racing games I've ever played.
I hear it described as kind of like a very polished Cruis'n USA kind of deal.
Yeah, it has that older racing game vibe where the city's just kind of pixelated and you're driving through. What's also interesting is that it kind of automatically takes turns for you. You just kind of have to stay in the lane, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
Whereas in a more modern racing game, you have full control over what's happening. It's kind of the map just turns, so you are doing it, but you could fall off the map on either side. It's a very specific difference how it works. But I've been thinking about seeing if I can platinum that because it's not incredibly difficult, but it is a little challenging.
I really haven't played a whole lot else. although our nephew was over and I did let him play Crash Bandicoot remastered, and he was not good.
Oh yeah.
He was not very good, but I was realizing after with that, and then I was like, well, there's a lot of pits, it's a lot of jumping and that kind of stuff. So we swapped over to Spyro, which is a lot
Hold
more
on.
big open fields.
Okay.
Okay. So instead of Crash, we swapped over to Spyro, which has more open fields and just a couple, just enemies that run away from you, especially in the first area. So it's a little less threatening, and so he was able to run around, and he was actually learned how to breathe fire, and he was taking out some of the enemies, but he was having the hardest time holding those controllers because his hands are so small. And I never once thought about that controller being so big, but I have big grown man hands and that 3-year-old little tiny hands. So what I did,
I think
we haven't tried this yet, but I ordered the Hori mini controller.
Yeah.
And it came in, and it's about the size of a Super Nintendo controller, a little bit bigger than a Super Nintendo controller because it's got the 2 DualShock or joysticks on it. But it seems like perfect size for him. So when he comes over next time, I'm gonna let him play it. It's a neat little thing, but it's a wired controller. But it's like a 4-foot cable. So.
Oh, that's good. That's awesome.
So hopefully when he gets in, he'll be able to play it. Because I noticed him bringing his right hand to help him press the buttons, because he had to press the buttons and then try to jump, and then he was getting frustrated, and he was like, well, you do the jumps for me. I was like, Crash Bandicoot's all about jumping. Everything is jumping. So I was like, well, let's do something else. And so we played that for a little bit. We also played, let him play Sonic, but he couldn't get it.
I didn't get it either.
I can't get it, so.
No. Sonic sucks. I said it.
I want to like Sonic, but there's so many cheap things about that game. Like there's like level 2 or 3 where you go into this like the metal world, and like all of a sudden just water everywhere, and like, okay, I finally get out of the water, and then I go down, and then the platform flips over. I'm like, okay, so I dodge the platform and I go over, and then spikes hit me. I'm like, this is like mean Mario levels, and I'm not okay with this.
Yeah.
So, no.
Yeah. I forgot what I was going to say. All right. Well, that's the show. Before we go, I'm going to list off what we have coming up next week in terms of games. Nothing on here that's super, in my opinion, interesting. I apologize to anyone who thinks they're interesting. But first, on July 10th, we have Soul Seraph coming to PC, PS4, and Xbox One and Switch. We also have...
I think that's one to look out for. I've heard... That name sounds familiar. I think I've heard really interesting things about that game. So maybe take a look at Soul Seraph.
Okay. Space Dance comes to PC on July 10th.
That's the sequel to Space Jam.
Oh, right.
Not really.
Blazing Chrome comes to PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch, July 11th.
Is that...
Professor Loot...
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt every one of those. Blazing Chrome, is that like when Firefox meets Google?
Yeah, and neither of them work.
Yeah.
Professor Lupo and His Horrible Pets comes to PC and Switch on July 11th, which I can only imagine what that's about. Dragon Quest Builders 2 comes to PC, PS4 and Switch on July 12th, finally, so we can stop talking about it. God Eater 3 comes to Switch on July 12th. The Sims 4 Island Living expansion comes to PS4 and Xbox One on July 16th. And Summer Catchers comes to PC on July 16th.
Cool.
So, that is the show. Remember that Ware Gaming Weekly posts every week on YouTube.com and on podcast services. You can find more about us at waregaming.com, and you can always write into Ware Weekly at waregaming.com. You can tweet to me. Go ahead.
I was gonna say we also now have a Discord. I made a Discord for us.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think it's you can just look up Ware Gaming, and you can. It's open, so anybody can join. If you have a Discord or you're into that, I don't really understand it yet. It's very confusing, but you know, if you're one of those people, you're more than welcome to come and help us out.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. You can tweet to us at @waregaming_. You can tweet to me at speaknicklish.
And you can tweet to me at jaws1015. And until next week, maybe we'll have video, maybe not. We'll see. Say goodbye, Nick.
Goodbye, Nick.